Beneath the shifting sands lie entire empires we forgot existed. These lost cities are not just legends, they are real places, and a technological revolution is now pulling them back into the light. We will journey from ancient myths like the fabled Ubar to the stunningly detailed maps created by modern scanners, revealing how entire civilizations rose, thrived, and vanished. You will discover how light and radio waves are resurrecting invisible kingdoms, rewriting the history of human ambition. How did a city of immense wealth simply disappear without a trace? And what secrets about our own future might its ruins hold? What forgotten story would you most want the desert to finally tell? That empty space on the map is a siren call to the human spirit. We are drawn to legends of El Dorado, its streets paved with gold, or the great library of Alexandria, a universe of knowledge lost to fire. These are not just stories, they represent a deep, almost primal need to solve the great puzzles of our past, to find what was erased. For the historian or the archaeologist, these lost cities are far more than romantic tales. They are vital, missing chapters in the epic story of humanity itself. Uncovering them can reveal how societies grappled with a changing climate, what led to their sudden collapse, or how ideas and goods traveled across vast, empty deserts. There is a profound thrill in that moment of discovery, a feeling one researcher described as touching time itself. It is a direct connection to the lives, hopes, and struggles of people who came before us. This quest pushes us to look deeper, to question the silence of a barren landscape, and to believe that the most profound treasures are not gold, but knowledge we have yet to uncover. What could these past civilizations, with all their triumphs and failures, possibly teach us about navigating our own future? That burning question is precisely what fuels the development of the incredible tools we use to see the invisible. These ancient texts and nomadic stories were not just fanciful legends, they were the original treasure maps, drawn not on parchment but in memory and verse. For generations, scholars pored over documents like the Periplus of the Erythraean Sea, a Greek sailor's guide that meticulously listed ports and trading hubs along ancient routes. On a map, these were just names, but to an explorer, they were tantalizing mysteries. Where was the port of Moshe Lyman, a place described as bustling with incense and spices? It had simply disappeared from the coastline. At the same time, the oral histories of the Bedouin people spoke of Aram of the Pillars, a city of unparalleled wealth and towering architecture that was said to have been erased by a sandstorm as divine retribution for its pride. These stories, passed from elder to child over countless campfires, were often dismissed as mere folklore, yet figures like T.E. Lawrence, who lived and traveled with desert tribes, recognized a profound truth within the poetry. The cities of brass were not necessarily made of metal, but they could very well be real centers of commerce and metalworking now buried. The river of gold was likely not a waterway, but the incredibly valuable trade route for frankincense and myrrh. Deciphering these clues required a special kind of translation, not of language but of landscape and human ambition. These whispers from the past provided the starting point, the general direction to look. But to move from a story to a shovel striking stone, researchers needed something more concrete. They needed to find a crack in the desert's armor, a place where the earth itself gave up a fragment of its secret. The desert itself often winks at those who know how to look. A gentle, unassuming mound rising from an otherwise flat plain is rarely a natural formation. To an archaeologist, this is a tell, a hill built not by geological forces but by human hands, layer upon layer, over centuries. It is the accumulated rubble of mud brick houses that crumbled and were rebuilt, the refuse of daily life, the very substance of a forgotten city rising slowly from its own ashes. Walking across these sites, a trained eye is drawn to the ground. A scatter of pottery shards, their edges smoothed by wind and time, tells a story of broken jars and lost meals. A piece of flint deliberately chipped into a sharp tool speaks of hands that worked here thousands of years ago. These fragments are a breadcrumb trail left by time itself, each one a tiny signal pointing toward a larger, hidden story. Pioneers like Gertrude Bell understood this language of the land. She didn't need deep excavations to make profound discoveries. By meticulously mapping and collecting these surface artifacts across the Middle East, she could read the landscape like a historical document, identifying where a thriving community once stood. Sometimes the clues are even more subtle. From above, a faint circular pattern in the vegetation or an unnaturally straight line cutting across the terrain can betray the ghost of a buried wall or an ancient road, its outline pressed into the earth long after the stones themselves were covered. These geographical hints are the desert's way of whispering its secrets, but they only tell us where to look, not what we will find. To truly see the invisible city below, we must learn to listen through the sand. A single shovel cut into the earth is a moment of both discovery and destruction. The romantic vision of archaeology, of carefully brushing away sand grain by grain, carries a heavy cost. Excavation is an inherently destructive process. Once a layer of soil and artifacts is removed, its original context is lost forever, like tearing a page from a book and then losing the sequence. In the immense scale of a desert, this method becomes almost impossibly inefficient. A team of archaeologists could spend an entire season and a small fortune meticulously unearthing a single building, only to realize it was just a peripheral shed on the edge of a metropolis they completely missed. They are effectively trying to understand an entire city by examining one backyard. The financial and logistical burdens are staggering, requiring teams of specialists, permits, and years of commitment. And in many parts of the world, particularly in regions of political tension, such large-scale, disruptive digging is simply not an option. The traditional approach became a high-stakes gamble, where years of work could be based on a surface clue that was misinterpreted. This frustrating limitation, the understanding that we were missing far more than we found, created an urgent need for a new kind of vision. We had to find a way to read the entire book without having to tear it apart page by page. The breakthrough arrived not from the desert floor, but from the silent vacuum of space. A new perspective was born when we began to look down from the heavens, turning satellites into our tireless archaeological scouts. The first major leap came from a surprising source: declassified Cold War spy satellite photographs. These images, captured decades ago, offered a priceless time capsule of the Earth's surface. They showed a world less touched by modern agriculture and sprawling cities, preserving faint traces of ancient settlements that had since been plowed under or paved over. This was like being handed an old, detailed map of a landscape that no longer existed. Specialists learned to read this new map by looking for the land's subtle signatures. They searched for crop marks where buried stone walls just beneath the surface stunt the growth of plants above, creating stark lines and geometric patterns in a field of wheat. They looked for soil marks where the different composition of soil filling an ancient ditch or foundation contrasts with the surrounding earth. But the real revolution went even deeper, beyond what our eyes can naturally see. Pioneers like Dr. Sarah Parcak began using multispectral and hyperspectral imaging. This technology doesn't just see light, it analyzes it. It can detect dozens of shades of color reflected from the ground, shades that are completely invisible to us. A patch of earth that looks uniformly brown to you and me might, to these sensors, reveal the distinct chemical signature of decomposed mud bricks or the ghost of a long-filled irrigation canal. This method transformed the search. An archaeologist could now survey an area of thousands of square miles from a computer screen, identifying a handful of the most promising targets with stunning precision. It was like swapping a magnifying glass for a wide-angle lens, allowing us to see the grand, hidden patterns of human history painted across continents. Yet for all its power, this view from orbit could only outline the broad brushstrokes of a lost city. To trace its streets and peer into its rooms, we needed to bring our vision much, much closer to the ground. While satellites gave us the grand overview, we needed a tool that could capture the intricate details, the very streets and walls of these lost worlds. That tool is LiDAR, a technology that works like a macro lens for the entire landscape. The name stands for light detection and ranging, and its principle is elegantly simple. Imagine an aircraft or a drone flying over a vast, impenetrable jungle or a sweeping desert. From its underside, a scanner fires millions of tiny, invisible laser pulses at the ground below. Each pulse is a stopwatch, racing down to the Earth and bouncing back to the sensor. The system measures the exact time it takes for each one to return. Now here is the real magic. In a dense forest, most pulses will hit the tops of trees, but a lucky few will slip through gaps in the leaves and hit the ground. By collecting every single return and then digitally filtering out all the points that hit vegetation or modern buildings, the computer can strip the landscape bare. What remains is a breathtakingly precise digital skin of the Earth itself, a map of the ground that has been hidden for centuries. This is not a photograph, it is a three-dimensional model of pure topography. The power of this was stunningly demonstrated deep in the jungles of Belize at the Mayan city of Caracol. For decades, archaeologists knew it was an important site, but they had no idea of its true scale. When LiDAR scanned the area, it revealed a sprawling metropolis, a complex urban center with tens of thousands of structures, farm terraces, and a vast network of roadways, all completely invisible beneath the thick canopy. The city was not just a ceremonial center, it was a gigantic, interconnected capital. In the desert, LiDAR performs a different kind of miracle. It can detect variations in the ground surface so subtle that they are completely invisible to the human eye. The gentle, linear swell of a road buried under 3 feet of sand, the faint ditch of an ancient irrigation canal, the perfectly square foundation of a house reduced to dust, all of these rise from the data like ghosts from the machine. It allows us to virtually peel back the sand, layer by digital layer, to see the city's skeleton without ever touching a trowel. We can walk its streets in a simulation and understand its flow and organization. But while LiDAR gives us the perfect shape of the city, it cannot tell us what those shapes are made of. To understand the substance of these ruins, we must listen for a different kind of echo. To read the intimate details of a buried city, you must listen to the whispers of the earth. While LiDAR maps the grand skeleton of a lost settlement from above, another tool provides the X-ray vision to see inside its very bones. This is ground-penetrating radar, a technology that works like a sophisticated form of sonar for the solid ground. Imagine a researcher slowly walking a cart, which looks a bit like a lawnmower across a flat, sandy plain. This unit is constantly emitting pulses of radio energy down into the soil. These waves travel until they hit something with a different density, like a stone wall, a layer of ash, or an empty space. When they hit that object, they bounce back to the surface where the machine's antenna listens for their return. The system meticulously records the two-way travel time of each pulse, building up a vertical slice of the Earth below, a cross-section that reveals what lies hidden at every depth. This data is not just a blurry image. A trained interpreter can read the squiggles and reflections on the screen like a medical doctor reads an X-ray. A strong, sharp signal might indicate a solid stone foundation. A messy, chaotic pattern of echoes could be a refuse pit filled with broken pottery and organic waste. A distinct, hollow signature might reveal the arched roof of a buried tomb chamber, its emptiness creating a clear and telling void in the data. This ability to distinguish materials is what transforms a map of outlines into a blueprint of ancient life. With ground-penetrating radar, we can do more than just locate a building's walls. We can start to understand its purpose. Does the interior show the small, partitioned rooms of a common house? Does the data reveal a large, open floor plan consistent with a temple or a public hall? Can we identify the deep, subterranean storage pits that mark a granary, vital for a city's survival? This technology provides the intimate, room-by-room narrative that broader surveys can only hint at. It tells us not just where people built, but how they lived within those spaces, turning echoes into stories of daily routine, spiritual belief, and economic survival. But no single tool holds all the answers. The true magic happens when we combine these different ways of seeing. This layered approach to discovery is the true revolution, a symphony of scanners working in perfect harmony. Each technology on its own has a blind spot, but together they create a complete picture. A typical expedition now unfolds like a perfectly coordinated search. It might begin with a broad view from a satellite, spotting a strange, geometric shadow across 1,000 square miles of desert. This prompts a low-flying drone equipped with LiDAR to sweep over the area, its laser pulses stripping away the sand to reveal the ghostly grid of a city's streets and the outlines of its major buildings. That high-definition map then guides a team on the ground. They walk directly to the spots where the data screams something important, deploying their ground-penetrating radar unit over a specific, promising rectangle. They are no longer digging at random. They are conducting a targeted investigation, using GPR to confirm whether that rectangle is a palace foundation or a simple storage pit. This is a cascade of clues from the orbital to the intimate. All of this diverse information, from the satellite's spectral analysis to the GPR's depth readings, flows into a single, powerful digital canvas known as a geographic information system. Think of it as the ultimate archaeological tool, a dynamic, living map where you can slide transparency bars to see different layers of time and data. You can toggle the LiDAR terrain model on and off, overlay the satellite's crop marks, and then click on a GPR anomaly to see a cross-section of the Earth directly beneath. This is not just a map, it is a hypothesis engine. It allows researchers to ask complex questions. Does the main road from the LiDAR data lead directly to that large structure with the deep foundations seen on GPR? Does the pattern of smaller houses cluster around what appears to be a central water source? The model helps test these ideas of how the city functioned, revealing its social and economic heartbeat. This integrated workflow is a profound shift in philosophy. It transforms archaeology from a disruptive extraction process into a delicate act of remote sensing and precise verification. The goal is no longer to dig up the entire site, but to understand as much as possible without breaking the soil. This preserves the site not just as a static ruin, but as a time capsule for future generations who will undoubtedly have even more advanced, non-invasive ways to see the unseen. We are learning to read the book of the past without needing to tear out its pages. With this powerful symphony of technologies now conducting the search, we can finally turn our attention to the legends themselves to see how these invisible tools are resurrecting the most famous lost cities of the sand. The legend of Ubar was once thought to be pure fantasy, a cautionary tale of a city so wicked it was consumed by the desert. Yet this myth became the ultimate test for our new way of seeing. The search began not with shovels but with pixels. A researcher named Nicholas Clapp, enthralled by the stories, turned to satellite images provided by NASA. He was not looking for walls or buildings, but for something far more ephemeral, the ghostly footprints of ancient travel. On the satellite photos, he and his team spotted something astounding. A faint, web-like network of lines radiating across the vast emptiness of Oman's Dhofar Desert. These were ancient caravan tracks, paths worn deep into the fragile desert crust by the countless camels carrying priceless frankincense. From the ground, these trails were completely invisible, but from space, they formed a pattern as clear as a modern highway map. All of these tracks, like spokes on a wheel, converged on a single, unremarkable point. It was as if the merchants of antiquity had all drawn a giant, invisible arrow pointing directly at the heart of the legend. This satellite data guided a ground team, including adventurer Ranulf Fiennes and archaeologist Joris Zarins, straight to the site. What they found confirmed the power of this layered approach. Ground surveys and later, careful excavations revealed the ruins of a significant fortified settlement. Most tellingly, they discovered a massive cavern beneath the fort, a collapsed limestone sinkhole. It appeared the city had not been swallowed by a sandstorm in a single day, but had gradually crumbled into a natural cavity beneath it, a geological event that perfectly explained the mythic punishment. The discovery sparked debate, as all great finds do. Was this the literal Ubar of the stories? Perhaps not in every dramatic detail, but the technology had undeniably located a major, wealthy trading hub from the era of the frankincense trade, precisely where the old tales and caravan routes insisted it should be. It was a powerful lesson, proving that the line between myth and history is often just a matter of learning how to look. The rock-cut tombs of Petra have long stolen the spotlight, their magnificent facades glowing in the desert sun. But for centuries, a deeper mystery remained hidden in the barren hills surrounding this iconic city. How could the Nabateans possibly support a population numbering in the tens of thousands in such an arid and unforgiving landscape? The tombs themselves held no answers, for a city cannot eat stone. The secret to Petra's survival was not in its carved monuments, but in the land beyond them, a realm known as its hinterlands. To solve this puzzle, archaeologists turned their eyes from the cliffs to the sky, deploying drones equipped with LiDAR scanners. As the lasers painted the terrain, they performed a digital miracle, stripping away the thin soil and scrub to reveal the true genius of the Nabateans. The data unveiled a sprawling, engineered landscape of breathtaking complexity. Where our eyes see only empty hills, the scanners mapped an intricate web of stone. They found long, low walls snaking along the contours of the land, not for defense but for agriculture. These were terraces designed to capture precious soil and slow the destructive flow of water during rare, violent rainstorms. The LiDAR revealed the ghosts of canals and pipelines chiseled into the rock, channeling every single drop of seasonal rainwater into a network of massive underground reservoirs. This was not a city surviving on luck. It was a metropolis built by master hydraulic engineers. They transformed their entire environment into a vast, efficient machine for capturing water. Small satellite villages, previously unknown, appeared in the data, dotting the landscape around these agricultural zones. This was the supporting network, the lifeblood of the city. The discovery fundamentally rewrites Petra's story. It was never just a necropolis, a city of the dead. It was a thriving, self-sufficient capital that mastered its harsh environment to create a verdant oasis. The true monument of the Nabateans is not the treasury, but the incredible, invisible system that allowed it to be built. A city is far more than its grandest buildings. It is the entire, living network that breathes life into its stones. South of Egypt, along the fertile banks of the Nile, an entire empire rose to power, building its own pyramids that still stand as silent sentinels in the Sudanese desert. The royal cemetery at Meroe is a forest of these steep-sided monuments, though many are crowned not with capstones but with broken edges, as if a giant took a bite from their peaks. For generations, these pyramids were seen primarily as tombs, isolated memorials to kings and queens in what was thought to be a peripheral kingdom. But the sand around them held a far grander secret, one that required a different kind of vision to uncover. A major international project aimed its technological eyes at this landscape, using two powerful methods that listen to the whispers of the soil. Magnetic radiometry is like a sensitive compass that can feel the faintest traces of human activity. When ancient hearths were lit or iron was smelted in fierce fires, the intense heat permanently altered the magnetic minerals in the soil, creating a subtle but detectable signal that lasts for millennia. The other technique, electrical resistivity tomography, works by sending a gentle electrical current into the ground. This current flows more easily through some materials, like loose, damp fill in an ancient ditch, and meets resistance in others, like a solid stone foundation. By mapping where the current flows freely and where it struggles, researchers can create an image of what is buried, as if they are giving the Earth an MRI scan. The data that returned from the scanners was nothing short of revolutionary. The empty desert between the pyramids was suddenly filled with the ghostly outlines of an entire city. The maps revealed a sprawling suburban neighborhood, with the footprints of simple houses and workshops clustering around the royal tombs. But the most stunning discovery was evidence of large-scale industry, including extensive areas dedicated to iron production. This was not just a city of the dead, it was a vibrant, smoky, industrious capital, a center of innovation and manufacturing. The scanners also detected the clear, massive foundation of a previously unknown temple complex, suggesting a spiritual life that was as rich and complex as its economic one. This new evidence forces a complete rewrite of history. Meroe was not a remote outpost merely copying its northern neighbor. It was a formidable, independent power in its own right, a hub of technology and culture that mastered the production of iron, the most advanced material of its age. The broken pyramids are no longer lonely monuments, but the proud centerpiece of a rediscovered metropolis. These invisible maps are doing more than just locating lost walls. They are restoring the rightful legacy of a great African empire, pulling it from the long shadow of Egypt and placing it back onto the main stage of human civilization. The story of our past is being rewritten not with shovels but with signals, proving that some of the greatest discoveries are not found, but listened for. A city's true strength lies not in its grandest temples, but in the quiet fields that feed its people. This is the next frontier revealed by our new vision, moving beyond the dense urban core to map the sprawling suburban landscapes and agricultural systems that were the lifeblood of these empires. The scanners are showing us that the city itself was merely the heart of a vast, managed body, a carefully engineered environment that stretched for miles. Across the Negev desert, a place of stark and brutal beauty, the land appears empty and inhospitable. Yet from above, LiDAR and other sensors have painted a different picture entirely. They have exposed an astonishingly complex grid of agriculture, a ghostly latticework of low stone walls creating terraced fields, and a delicate web of channels designed to capture every possible drop of water. This was the work of both the Nabateans and later Byzantine farmers, masters of hydrology who understood their environment with an intimacy we are only now appreciating. They did not fight the desert, they collaborated with it. They built check dams in tiny ravines to slow the rare, violent floodwaters, forcing the water to spread and seep into the soil, nurturing the crops planted there. This was not small-scale gardening, it was a massive, systematic transformation of the land. To see these patterns emerge from the data is to understand that a lost city was never truly lost alone. It was the center of a living, breathing ecosystem. The fields, the canals, the roads leading to outlying farms, these are all part of the same story. This holistic view completely changes our understanding of their economic power. A civilization that could cultivate the desert on such a scale was not just surviving on trade, it was generating its own wealth and ensuring its own food security. This knowledge allows us to see these people not as mysterious figures from a legend, but as pragmatic, brilliant engineers. They thrived by reshaping the very world around them, turning scarcity into abundance. It forces us to expand our idea of an archaeological site. The treasure is not just a palace, but a single, perfectly placed stone in an irrigation wall that helped an entire city flourish for centuries. The raw data from these scanners is far from a dry collection of numbers. It is the seed from which entire worlds can grow. This digital resurrection begins when archaeologists and digital artists collaborate, feeding the precise measurements from LiDAR and the subterranean details from ground-penetrating radar into powerful software. They combine this with a technique called photogrammetry, which involves taking thousands of overlapping photographs of the site and its remaining artifacts from every possible angle. The software then analyzes these images, identifying common points to stitch them together into a single, incredibly detailed three-dimensional model. The result is not an artist's fanciful interpretation, but a scientifically grounded reconstruction of how a city likely appeared at the peak of its power. You can now put on a virtual reality headset and stand at the city gates, watching as buildings rendered from the scanner data rise around you, their walls textured with photographs of actual surviving stonework. You can walk down the main thoroughfare, looking up at a temple facade restored to its original, painted glory, and get a true sense of scale and space that a flat map could never provide. This immersive experience is transformative for the public, but its value runs much deeper for researchers. These virtual worlds are dynamic laboratories. An archaeologist can test a hypothesis about the city's water management by simulating a rainstorm, watching how virtual water flows through the reconstructed canal system to see if it efficiently irrigates the fields. They can analyze the sightlines from a fortified tower to understand its strategic purpose, or even simulate crowd movement through the streets during a market day to study social patterns. This digital resurrection does more than just show us what was lost. It allows us to experiment with the past, to ask new questions and receive answers from a city that has been silent for 1,000 years. Establishing a timeline for a city you cannot touch has always been archaeology's great puzzle. How do you know when a silent street was last walked or when a buried wall was first built? Remote sensing is now turning the landscape itself into a timekeeping device. One powerful method involves the grand patterns of urban design. Just as you can roughly date a neighborhood by its architectural style, archaeologists can analyze the layout of a lost city from the air. They look at the street grid, the placement of public spaces, and the design of fortifications, then compare these patterns to cities that have been firmly dated through excavation. If the layout closely matches that of a known Roman garrison town from the 2nd century, it provides a strong initial anchor point for the entire site. This is like recognizing the blueprint of an era, but to get more precise, scientists turn to a technique that reads the very light trapped within the Earth. It is called optically stimulated luminescence. This method works on a simple, beautiful principle. Minerals like quartz and feldspar, found in all sand and soil, naturally absorb radiation from the environment over time. When these grains are buried and hidden from sunlight, they store this energy like a tiny battery. But if a human digs a foundation trench or a flood deposits new sediment, those mineral grains are exposed to the sun, and their stored energy is reset to zero, wiped clean. From that moment they are buried again, the energy begins accumulating once more. In a lab, scientists can carefully extract these grains from the soil surrounding a foundation stone and stimulate them with light, causing them to release their stored energy as a faint glow. The intensity of that glow reveals exactly how long it has been since the stone was set and the soil was last in the light. This tells you not when the city was built, but the last time its walls saw the sun before being swallowed by the dunes, providing a definitive date for its burial and abandonment. This timeline is further refined by the humble pottery shard. High-resolution aerial imagery is now so sharp that analysts can often identify the types of pottery scattered on the surface. Pottery styles changed with fashion and technology, creating a reliable sequence. Spotting a distinctive rim or handle from a known period, like the painted Nabatean bowls of the 1st century, adds another chronological pin to the map. Weaving together these different strands of evidence, the city's biography emerges from the data. You can trace its founding, see the outline of new districts added during a period of prosperity, and identify the point where construction ceased and the slow, silent process of burial began. We are learning to read the lifespans of empires written not in chronicles, but in the shape of their streets and the light locked in their sands. Perhaps the most profound shift in this entire technological revolution is not just what we can see, but who gets to do the seeing. For too long, the narrative of discovery in distant lands was dominated by foreign expeditions. Today, that dynamic is fundamentally changing, as these powerful tools are being placed directly into the hands of local communities and heritage authorities. This is not about outsiders extracting secrets. It is about empowering the very people for whom this history is a living, breathing part of their identity. Across the globe, training programs are flourishing, teaching a new generation of local archaeologists and university students how to pilot drones, process LiDAR point clouds, and interpret the intricate stories told by ground-penetrating radar. They are building in-country expertise that ensures the stewardship of their own cultural heritage remains where it belongs, with the people to whom it matters most. This is a powerful form of democratization, turning local experts into the primary authors of their own ancestral story. The impact is immediate and tangible. In regions facing rapid urban expansion, these newly trained teams can conduct swift, comprehensive surveys, identifying priceless archaeological sites long before the bulldozers arrive. This data provides governments with the evidence needed to create protected cultural zones, drawing a digital line in the sand against unchecked development. The same technology also serves as a potent deterrent to looting. By creating a high-definition, three-dimensional record of a site, any disturbance from illegal digging is permanently documented, providing law enforcement with undeniable proof of the crime and the precise extent of the damage. This digital archive becomes a permanent witness, a guardian that never sleeps. This fusion of global science and local legacy is more than just practical, it is deeply ethical. It gives a voice and a powerful defense to landscapes that have been silent for centuries, ensuring that the final chapter of these lost cities is not one of erasure, but but of reclamation and enduring protection. This incredible power to see through sand and stone carries a profound new responsibility. We can now locate dozens of potential sites in a single survey, but this creates a critical dilemma. Should we unearth every city we find, or is the most ethical choice sometimes to leave them protected within the earth? The very act of excavation, for all its romance, is a destructive one. Once a site is dug, its original context is gone forever, a unique page of history torn from the book of time. The non-invasive nature of modern scanning offers a powerful alternative, a way to read that book without damaging its binding. We can now map entire cities, understand their layouts, and even date their occupation, all while leaving the physical evidence intact for future generations. Those future researchers will undoubtedly have tools and techniques we cannot yet conceive of, and by leaving sites undisturbed, we are handing them a pristine time capsule. This is a gift of patience, an acknowledgement that our own curiosity must be balanced with a duty to preserve knowledge for the long arc of science. Yet the questions only deepen from there. Who truly owns the digital blueprint of a lost civilization? The data itself becomes a new kind of artifact, one that can be copied and shared across the globe in an instant. Does it belong to the international research team that collected it, the government of the nation where it was found, or the local communities for whom these ruins are a sacred part of their ancestral heritage? There is no simple answer, and it forces a necessary conversation about access, control, and the right to narrate history. Announcing a major discovery adds another layer of complexity. The label "Lost City Found" can trigger an immediate surge of interest, but without careful management, that interest can quickly turn destructive. A flood of tourists, however well-intentioned, can erode fragile ruins, while the same precise maps that aid preservation can, in the wrong hands, become a treasure hunter's guide for looters. This means the modern archaeologist's role has expanded far beyond that of a field scientist. They must now also be a diplomat, an ethicist, and a collaborator. The most successful projects are those built on deep partnerships with local communities, where decisions about research, preservation, and public access are made together. The goal shifts from simply extracting knowledge to fostering a shared stewardship. In this new era, the greatest discovery is not the city itself, but finding a way to protect its story for all time. The same scanners that reveal cities beneath the sand are now documenting a different kind of loss along our coastlines. Rising seas and intensifying storms are quietly erasing the footprints of ancient civilizations, washing away entire chapters of human history. This is not a slow, distant threat. It is a rescue operation happening in real time. From the air, LiDAR is being deployed not to strip away jungle canopy, but to capture the precise, three-dimensional shape of a coastline today. Scientists are creating high-definition baseline maps of these fragile shores, a digital snapshot against which all future change can be measured. They can track the centimeter-by-centimeter retreat of a cliff face that contains an ancient burial site, or document the exact layout of a crumbling fortress before the next hurricane scours it away. This precise record is our only chance to preserve these places in digital form, even if the physical site is lost to the waves. The urgency is palpable in places like the Nile Delta, a vast, fertile region that has been a cradle of civilization for thousands of years. Here, satellite imagery and underwater sonar are not finding lost cities in the desert, but revealing them on the seafloor. These scans have mapped the outlines of entire communities, complete with foundations and streets that now lie submerged in the Mediterranean. These sunken settlements are not random tragedies. They are a stark record of past environmental shifts, showing us how earlier cultures grappled with rising water levels. They offer a powerful, sobering lesson in long-term adaptation and resilience. This global effort transforms the mission of discovery. It is no longer just an academic pursuit, it is a vital act of preservation. The data becomes a time capsule, a permanent digital legacy for a heritage that is physically vanishing. The race to map our invisible past has become a desperate sprint against a changing climate, proving that these tools are not merely about understanding history, but about saving it for the future. The very ground we walk on holds its breath, creating minuscule distortions in our planet's gravitational field. A buried stone wall, a filled-in cellar, an empty tomb chamber, each of these voids and masses exerts a slightly different pull, a signature so faint we have never been able to feel it. That is about to change. Quantum sensing, a technology that sounds like science fiction, is emerging from physics labs. A quantum gravimeter does not see or listen, it feels the weight of the invisible. It measures these infinitesimal variations in gravity with a precision that was once unimaginable, allowing it to map the density of everything buried below, from a forgotten cistern to the very footprint of a foundation. It is the equivalent of giving the Earth a gentle, planet-wide way in and reading the results. While quantum sensors measure the unseen forces below, another powerful intelligence is learning to see patterns in the vast digital landscapes we have already created. The sheer volume of data from satellites, LiDAR, and radar is far too immense for any single human team to analyze in a lifetime. This is where artificial intelligence enters the story, not as a replacement for the archaeologist, but as an indefatigable research partner. Machine learning algorithms can be trained on known sites, teaching the AI to recognize the visual grammar of ancient human activity. Once trained, this digital mind can scour thousands of square miles of satellite imagery in the time it takes to drink a cup of coffee, flagging a subtle linear depression that might be a Bronze Age trackway or a faint circular pattern that could be the ghost of a roundhouse. It learns from every success and failure, constantly refining its search image for a Phoenician harbor or an Anasazi cliff dwelling. The future of discovery lies in the partnership between human intuition and machine precision. We will soon deploy fleets of smart drones, guided by AI that analyzes real-time LiDAR data to decide where to fly next, while quantum sensors on the ground confirm the presence of structures hinted at from the air. This closed loop of intelligent discovery will accelerate our ability to find and map not just single cities, but entire interconnected civilizations, rewriting the map of the ancient world at a pace we once thought impossible. This revolution in discovery is no longer confined to university labs or professional expeditions. The search for lost cities has opened its doors, inviting everyone to become an archaeologist for a day. Pioneers like Dr. Sarah Parcak launched platforms such as Global Explorer, where anyone with a smartphone or computer can sift through real satellite imagery of remote landscapes. This is citizen science in its purest form, a global crowdsourcing effort that taps into our collective curiosity. The task is both simple and profound. You might be shown a square of desert in Peru and asked to scan it for subtle signs of looting pits, which appear as dark, fresh scars on the earth, or for the faint geometric shadows that could be the walls of a forgotten settlement. While a single researcher might take years to analyze the same area, thousands of volunteers working in parallel can accomplish it in weeks. This human network acts as a massive, distributed supercomputer for pattern recognition, one that excels at spotting the anomalies that algorithms might miss. The results have been staggering. Ordinary people, from students to retirees, have helped flag thousands of potential sites and documented the heartbreaking spread of looting activity, providing crucial data for local authorities. But the impact runs deeper than just finding new ruins. This process transforms people from passive consumers of history into its active protectors. Each tagged image is a personal contribution to a global mission, fostering a powerful sense of shared stewardship over our collective human past. It proves that the most valuable tool in archaeology isn't just a laser or a satellite, but the innate human ability to notice something out of place, to see a story where others see only empty land. The next clue that unravels an entire civilization could come from your own screen. The old maps drawn by colonial explorers often labeled vast stretches of the globe as terra nullius, empty land awaiting discovery. This was never the truth, but a convenient story told to justify conquest. For generations, the history of ancient civilizations was filtered through this lens, where Western adventurers were hailed as discovering lost cities that local people had known about for centuries. Their interpretations often cast magnificent ruins as the work of outside, more advanced races, dismissing the genius of the indigenous cultures living right beside them. Modern scanning technology is now dismantling these myths, not with opinion but with cold, hard, objective data. The evidence pulled from the ground by LiDAR and radar provides a map that cannot be ignored. In southern Africa, for instance, the grand stone city of Great Zimbabwe was long attributed by colonialists to Phoenicians or Arabs, anyone but the ancestors of the local Shona people. But the intricate scans of its walls and structures reveal an architectural and urban planning logic that is entirely unique and deeply rooted in the local environment. There is no foreign blueprint here, only homegrown genius. Across the continent, the same story unfolds. The detailed surveys of Meroe's industrial quarters and the vast agricultural systems of the Garamantes in Libya present undeniable evidence of complex, sophisticated societies that mastered their harsh environments. These were not primitive tribes, but empires with their own technologies, economies, and cosmologies. The scanners are giving us back a stolen legacy, pixel by pixel. This is not just about adding new facts to an old book. It is about rewriting the entire narrative of human history to be more accurate, more inclusive, and far more magnificent. The true power of this technology lies not merely in finding lost cities, but in finally hearing the stories their original builders have been waiting to tell. A city rediscovered is more than a headline. It is a living, breathing opportunity for the community that inherits its legacy. The unearthing of a major site sends ripples far beyond academic journals, directly into the local economy. Almost overnight, a forgotten ruin can become a world-class destination, drawing travelers whose spending supports hotels, restaurants, guides, and artisans. This is not a fleeting gold rush, but the foundation for sustainable, long-term growth built around a unique and irreplaceable resource. The very same scanners that found the city are now vital to its survival as a public treasure. The detailed three-dimensional maps created by LiDAR and ground-penetrating radar are not just for discovery, they are the blueprints for preservation. Planners use this data to design visitor pathways that protect fragile ruins from foot traffic, to identify areas at risk of erosion, and to monitor the site for any signs of slow structural stress. It allows for a form of precision conservation where we can welcome the world without loving the site to death. This new field of digital heritage is itself a powerful economic engine. The demand for skilled drone pilots, data processors, geographic information system analysts, and conservation specialists is creating a whole new category of jobs. These are high-tech careers dedicated not to extracting resources, but to curating our collective human story, a growing industry where cultural value and economic value align. Perhaps the most profound impact bridges ancient wisdom with modern crises. As we face a world of increasing water scarcity, The intricate irrigation and catchment systems mapped at places like Petra or in the Negev Desert are more than historical curiosities. They are proven, time-tested experiments in sustainable living. Modern engineers are now studying these ancient designs, looking for low-tech, energy-efficient strategies to combat desertification and manage water in arid regions. The past becomes a laboratory for the future. This demonstrates a powerful truth that the stones of a lost city are not a drain on our resources, but a cornerstone for building resilient communities, fostering cultural pride, and seeding the innovations we will need to thrive in the centuries to come. The lone adventurer charting unknown lands is an icon of a bygone era. The modern archaeologist is a digital conductor, orchestrating a symphony of data streams where expertise in ancient pottery must now sit comfortably beside fluency in geographic information systems. The essential toolkit has been utterly transformed. Beyond the traditional trowel and brush, today's field researcher must be adept at piloting a drone, processing the dense point clouds of data from a LiDAR scan, and interpreting the cryptic squiggles of a ground-penetrating radar readout. The excavation trench, once the sole center of action, is now just one stage in a much larger process, complemented and often preceded by the digital lab where virtual models are built and tested. This fundamental shift demands a new kind of training, one that is deeply interdisciplinary. A typical project team now looks less like a group of specialist historians and more like the roster for a tech startup, bringing together computer scientists who write algorithms to detect ancient patterns, geophysicists who understand how energy waves travel through different soils, and data visualization experts who can turn billions of data points into an immersive walk through a resurrected city. The romantic figure with a fedora and a whip has been replaced by a collaborative scientist holding a tablet and a drone controller. This is not a loss of romance, but an incredible expansion of vision. The questions we can ask are now far grander, and the stories we can recover from the silence are infinitely more detailed and profound. Even our most powerful eyes in the sky cannot see everything. These scanners are blind to the most fragile yet telling remnants of the past. They map stone with breathtaking clarity, but wood, cloth, baskets, and the seeds of last meals leave no lasting echo for laser or radar. A grand palace wall is visible, but the woven mat that once lay on its floor is eternally silent. This is the great divide between a city's skeleton and its soul. We can trace the road network of a metropolis, but we cannot hear the marketplace chatter or smell the bread baking in 1,000 ovens. The technology reveals the stage, but the players, their costumes, and their daily scripts are often lost. This limitation extends to the very words they left behind. A sealed clay tablet covered in cuneiform may be detected as a small, dense object, but its story remains locked away until a human hand brushes away the earth and a human mind deciphers its symbols. The scanner finds the library, but it cannot read the books. This forces a vital partnership. The broad, non-invasive surveys tell us exactly where to dig with precision, guiding traditional archaeology to the spots where a careful trowel can recover those intimate, organic treasures. It is a conversation between the macro and the micro, where the satellite guides the shovel to the one room in 1,000 that holds a preserved wooden tool or a cache of inscribed seals. And this leads to a deeper, almost unsettling question. What if our next discovery is something we are not prepared to understand? Our maps of history are drawn from the fragments we have already found. What happens when a city emerges from the sand that completely redraws those maps, challenging the very timeline of human innovation or the rise of civilization? The tools provide an avalanche of data, but they offer no wisdom. They give us the map, but we must still choose the path through its mysteries, balancing our relentless curiosity with a humble respect for the stories we are only just beginning to hear. Our journey began with whispers in ancient texts and nomadic legends, the faintest echoes of forgotten glory. We have now witnessed how those echoes are amplified into a clear, resonant picture by the silent symphony of modern scanners. From the caravan tracks converging on Ubar to the industrial heart of Meroe and the hydrological genius surrounding Petra, we have watched entire empires rise from the void. These were not isolated wonders but the beating hearts of complex societies, their full stories locked in the sand until now. This quest is about so much more than locating old stones. It is a profound act of reclamation. We are piecing together our shared human narrative, one digital shard at a time. It reveals our timeless capacity for breathtaking innovation, for building thriving communities in the harshest of environments, and offers hard-won lessons in adaptation that resonate powerfully with our own era of climate uncertainty. For thousands of years, the desert sands have been the ultimate guardians of these secrets. Today, we have learned their language. We are no longer just digging, we are listening, using beams of light, pulses of radio energy, and rivers of data to hear the stories the Earth has been waiting to tell. This exploration has only just begun. The map of our past is being redrawn in real time, and the next great lost city, with all its wisdom and wonder, is waiting just beneath the next dune, its story poised to change our own. If this journey into the invisible world has captivated you, subscribe for more deep dives into the mysteries of our past. And we would love to hear from you. Which lost city would you most want to see resurrected by the power of modern technology?